The hilly road to the clinic, with which I'd never had difficulties before, was now tortuous. Big beads of sweat formed on my brow, and at some point my breath had grown faint. The hatchet in my belt was heavy and made it hard to walk. Okay. I considered leaving it, but couldn't let it go, at least not while Satoko's uncle was still breathing. The signboard for the Erie Clinic came into sight, but I quickly noticed something was odd, so I stopped. Several red revolving lights were flashing at the clinic. 3 police cars were parked in the parking lot with their lights on. There didn't need to be much else to inform me something had happened. I didn't want to see Coach, so I planned to leave Satoko in the clinic waiting room and give the receptionist a message. But with that police officer Uishi here, I couldn't go inside so carelessly. Ooh, boy. No wonder their programming had that many bugs in it at times. Man. That looks like a mess. That's what that looks like. Yeah, because I needed to see Satoko in a towel. I gently put Satoko down in the shade of the thicket. At least she seems to be doing better. Yep. I'll be right back, I added, getting to my feet. And I don't know what's going on in the hospital yet. Cautious of my surroundings, I hid myself behind a car and got closer to the officers grouped at the clinic's entrance. I overheard an officer wearing a necktie, probably their leader, and a white-robed doctor having a discussion about something. The doctor didn't seem to be Coach. It was one of those who Coach told to make the tea yesterday. And this isn't Uishi either. So this isn't Uishi and Coach. This is Komiyama, an unnamed subordinate of Coach.
事務室の所長席のソファーに座って居眠りをしているように見えました。
で、机の上に水差しと空き瓶になった睡眠薬があったんで、あなたはすぐに睡眠薬で自殺したんだと考えたと。
I think Erie's dead.
それで?
What about you guys?
高熱と瞳孔の拡大に重度の意識障害も見られました。睡眠薬中毒の典型的な重症例だと思いましたので、直ちに対応に入りました。
警察も救急も呼ばずに?
An ambulance. When he's at the clinic.
ここは病院で私は医師ですよ。生命が危険な状態にあるなら、直ちに治療して当然です。
ああ、まあいいから。それで?
呼吸が不正常だったので、人工呼吸を施しました。効果が出なかったので、人工呼吸器の準備をし。
ああ、はいはい。それでつまり、いろいろ頑張ったけど結局ダメだったと。そういうわけですよね。通報は死んでから直ちに?
はい。救うことができず、とても残念です。
Just then, a radio in one of the police cars started to buzz, producing a broken, mechanical voice.
こちら本部。小宮山さん、聞こえますか？どうぞ。
もしもし、小宮山です。ああ、お疲れ様です。睡眠薬での自殺みたいですね。遺書の類はなし。
Suicide? What the heck were they talking about? Someone committed suicide at the clinic. But who? I wish Takano-san dead, and she died the next day. And yesterday, I wish Coach was dead. Then, could he have...
普段から睡眠薬を常用していたとかは。
あまり知りません。
日頃疲れたとか死にたいとかそんなこと言ってました？
入江先生は普段からああいう性格でしたから。
Coach dead.
とてもそんな風には。
So I was right. Irie-sensei, they were talking about Coach. Coach killed himself. Why would he do that? There couldn't have been any reason he wanted to die. The only reason that came to mind is I wanted him dead. This world was insane. If I wanted someone dead, they'd die. Yeah, that is kind of an eyesore of anything. Yeah, Death Note with no notebook, that's where we are. That was the kind of world this was. Then what about Uishi? What happened to him? If people really died because I wanted them to, then something should have happened to him too.
そちらに応援が向かいました。課長からそちらは応援に任せて大石社の捜索に戻るとのことです。
了解しました。じゃあすいません。こっちに今応援が来てるそうですから現場はこのままにしておいてください。おい、行くぞ。
The officers nodded and split up into the patrol cars. Did they just say searching for Uishi's car? Searching for his car. That meant he'd gone missing. Takano-san, Coach, and Uishi. When I wished for it, the very next day, they disappeared. No matter how angry you were when you said you wished someone was dead, it normally didn't happen. Everyone knew just wishing for it wouldn't make them dead, and that's why people could utter such curses so lightly. But the curses I uttered were being granted. At the time, I hadn't even been walking, and yet... Tap. I heard a footstep. And it wasn't only one this time. Tap, tap. They came from behind. Yeah, we have officially been Oyashiro'd. And they stood right behind me, reaching a hand for my shoulder.
一体何事なんですの？
サトコか。脅かすなよ。
驚いたのはこっちでしてよ。いきなり大声を出さないでくださいまし。
She has a point. It was Satoko. Her eyes were still unstable and focused, but she seemed at least to be able to walk on her own now. She looked far better now compared to her earlier exhausted state.
具合はどうなんだ？もう大丈夫なのか？
まだ頭が痛いですけど、いつまでもこんな格好で表にいられませんもの。
She gave a smile, a show of courage, but her legs were still shaky.
それより、これは一体何事なんですの？今、警察が話してるのを聞いてた限りじゃ。
監督が自殺したらしい。
え？
Satoko was at a loss for words. Her face grew paler and paler, and I could tell she was doubting her own ears.
ケイチさん、それ、本当ですの？何かの聞き間違いじゃないんですの？
確かにそう聞いたよ。入江先生が睡眠薬で自殺したって。
Satoko went down on her knees and broke out in tears.
嘘ですわ。監督が自殺なんて、そんなの絶対に。
As I watched Satoko crying and clawing at the grass, I felt myself trapped by guilt and remorse. I got so angry that Coach was treating me like a madman yesterday, that he'd betrayed me, that I thought he'd be better off dead. But even Coach, who, to me, deserved to die, still must have had people who loved and respected him. Like Satoko here. In my selfish, egotistical anger, I wished for his death, and it was granted. And now Satoko was crying hysterically as a result. The guilt tore at my heart. I worked myself up to murder for Satoko's sake. I decided I wanted Satoko to be happy. But was that really all it took? Murder meant taking someone's life. It meant making everyone attached to that person sad. In Satoko's uncle's case, of course, nobody would be sad. So I didn't feel a sense of guilt at all. But Coach's death was different. I had wanted to make Satoko happy, and that had resulted in me inflicting a deep sadness upon her, hadn't it? But Coach killed himself. It wasn't my... Satoko still hadn't stopped crying, but she seemed to be a little calmer now. Wiping her tears, she stood up.
すまない。
And the only thing I could think to say to her was an apology.
どうして謝りますの？
Thanks for that game.
昨日監督とその喧嘩して。
Turn it back up after the scene's over because it's actually literally hurting my ears. That distorted saxophone hurts.
お前なんか死んじまえって呪ったんだ。呪ったから本当に死んじゃって。
Satoko looked at me dubiously for a few moments. Eventually, her expression softened as she interpreted my words in her own way.
圭一さんのせいではありませんわ。
She's smiling as she says this.
監督も大人ですもの。自分の命を捨てるに値する都合があって悩んだ末に選んだんですもの。誰のせいでもありませんわ。
She smiled a little, trying to comfort me.
いつまでもこのままでいたくありませんわ。
Believe me, we don't want you to be naked forever either. Please hurry,
服
game.
が欲しい。
Keiichi, could you take off your shirt and give it to her or something?
いいのかよ。診療所に行って見てもらった方が。
服を着てから見てもらっても別に死にはしませんわ。
Satoko readjusted her bath towel and started back along the path. Her stride was wobbly, and it didn't look like she'd recovered as much as she let on. At first, Satoko tried to go back home, but it was the time of the morning when people were going to school and work, so after seeing people walking around, she thought better of it. She must have been pretty embarrassed wearing only the towel. Seriously, Keiichi? You can get away without a shirt. Loan it to her.
理科のうちに行きますわよ。私の服あるはずですから。どうしたんですの？圭一さん。
Satoko noticed I was hanging my head and spoke to me.
監督はああ見えても大人ですのよ。圭一さんと喧嘩したくらいで自殺するような人ではありませんわ。自分を責めるのをおやしなさいませ。
At first I thought it was a coincidence, but with 3 people now, I couldn't discard the possibility. There was no such thing as impossible in this world.
この数日おかしいんだ。
何がですの？
Satoko seemed to be having trouble breathing, but she still tried to listen to what I had to say.
おとといの綿流しのお祭り、お前は途中で帰ったから行かなかったんだよな。そして俺は祭りに行ってみんなと遊んだ。
らしいですわね。あの時は取り乱して申し訳ありませんでしたわね。
Satoko remembered how she blew up at me in the classroom yesterday and bowed to me a little.
実は俺祭りに行っていないって言ったら信じるか？
Satoko looked at me, confused. She couldn't help it, of course.
信じられるわけありませんわ。何を今さら。
信じられないだろ。信じられないのは俺もだって。俺は祭りに行っていないのに、俺が祭りに現れてみんなと遊んだって言うんだ。こんなの信じられるわけないだろ。
それ本気ですの？
ああ、あの綿流しの夜からおかしいんだ。いつの間にか変な足音がペタペタとついてくるようになって。
The blood drained from Satoko's expression.
足音がペタペタ。
そうなんだ。最初は気のせいだと思ってたけど、ずっとついてくるんだ。
Yeah, it definitely sounds like that.
多分今もついてきてる。里子の足音と混じってよく聞き分けられないけれど。
Satoko took a long and hard look at me. Maybe she was doubting my sanity. Coach did the same thing. I mean, why wouldn't he after telling him this? The more I thought about it, the more I was unable to endure the feeling that my hatred for Coach had been meaningless.
綿流しの日、俺は祭りに行かず、あることをしていたんだ。ずっとだぞ。眠ったり、意識がなくなったりしたことはなかった。だから寝ぼけ気分でフラフラと記憶になく祭りに出かけたなんてことはありえない。
それはおかしいですわね。ならどうやってお祭りで遊んだんですの？
だから俺は祭りには行ってないんだよ。
No! I can't let myself get emotional. If I get agitated now, that'd be like proving there's something wrong with my head.
あ、ごめん。みんなが信じてくれないんで、つい。
圭一さんがそう言うなら信じてあげますわ。それで？
あの夜、高野さんに会ったんだ。それで見下されたと思って、俺は心の中で念じたんだ。お前なんか死んじまえって。
高野さんってどことなくそういう雰囲気がございますものね。その気持ちわからなくもありませんでしたよ。
高野さんが死んだの知ってるか？昨日の話だ。どこかで焼け死んだらしい。
それ本当ですの？死んだんですの？
俺が死ねと願うと次の日には死んでるんだ。それから警察の大石ってやつも知ってるか？あのムカつく太った刑事みたいなやつ。
Satoko nodded a little.
さっき警察が話してるのを聞いたんだが、どうもあいつ行方不明になってるらしい。
Yeah, we kind of need to get Satoko some clothes. Could we hurry with that?
実は昨日あいつにも死んじまえって念じてたんだ。
それ本当の話ですの？
嘘じゃない。俺だって信じたくないけど本当の話なんだ。高野さんも監督も大石も俺が死ねと念じたら本当に死んでしまったんだ。
For a little while, Satoko was at a loss. A long silence ensued.
それは怖い話ですわね。圭一さんにせめて嫌われないように気をつけませんと。
Oh god, she's becoming Takano, isn't she?
それだけじゃない。もっとおかしいこともあるんだ。それはお前のおじなんだ。
おじさまの話はやめてくださいましな。
昨日いたんだろう、お前の家に。
あの人の話はやめてくださいます。嫌なんですの。
ありえないんだ。あいつがいるわけがないんだ。
やめてって言ってますのよ。
Keiichi, you might want to take the hint.
あの男が綿流しの夜以降いるわけがないんだ。だって
Yeah, if that's... It might not be the Steam Edition sprite. There might not be anything there in Steam. But the patches I put in to put all the voices and all that in might have thrown that in there.
あの男のことはもう嫌なんですの。
俺が殺したんだ、この手で。
Even the cicada stopped crying. Her face was streaked with tears, and it stiffened even more as she looked at me in disbelief.
俺が綿流しの祭りの夜にお前のおじを殺したんだ。だからお前の家に帰ってくるなんてことはありえないんだ。
And last night he found fault with the dinner you made him, yelled all sorts of things at you, then basically boiled you in the bathtub. That couldn't possibly have happened.
だから俺はあの男を確かに殺したという証拠を確かめるために埋め出したよ。昨日掘り返したんだ。
Turn back to where it was.
だがそこには死体はなかった。こんなことがあり得ると思うか。確かに殺したのに死体がないんだ。そして何事もなかったかのように帰宅してお前の前に。こんなことがあっていいはずないだろう。
Satoko's entire body stiffened. She was shrinking away like there was someone in front of her, about to hurt her.
お前も俺のこと頭が変になったって思ってるんだろうな。無理もないさ。俺だって信じられない。
圭一さんはきっと空前呪った人が死んでしまったんで混乱してるだけに違いありませんわ。監督の自殺にショックを受けて気が動転してるだけなんですのよ。今日はもう学校を休んでお家で休んだ方がよろしいと思いますわ。
Satoko's being sensible about this after all.
私はもう平気ですから、どうかご自分の体を大事になさいまし。
Satoko spoke like she understood me, but she also told me to go home. I could see the revulsion in her face and knew that she didn't want to be around me anymore.
サトコをちゃんと診療所まで見送ったら俺も帰る。サトコだってまだ足元がフラフラじゃないか。途中で倒れたら大変だぞ。
私はもう本当に大丈夫なんですのよ。男の人にいつまでもこんな姿を晒していたくないんですのよ。
Also a crazy person. Don't want to expose yourself to a crazy person either. She wobbled up the shrine steps, looking like she was about to fall. I immediately ran up to her and helped her stay on her feet. But then Satoko promptly jumped away from me. That outright rejection hurt a lot. Once she got to the top of the stairs, her breathing was ragged, and she wasn't even looking at me. At this point, I was being ignored. Well, it was more like she didn't want to have anything to do with me. It really was a feeling of rejection. And that hurt my heart more than any blade could have. This was the path I chose for her sake. To be treated like this at the end of it all was just so saddening. Don't be naive, Keiichi Maebara. You never wanted to be repaid in the first place. You didn't do it so that Satoko would thank you. You did it so Satoko would be happy. And that was what led to this ending. Rika-chan's house was a disaster prevention storehouse used by the town council. If you had passed it a little further through the shrine grounds, you'd apparently reach the back of the assembly hall. Satoko was heading there, walking quickly, the gravel under her feet. Crunching as she went. Did she want to get there as soon as possible, or did she want to run away? I couldn't tell. And then I heard the vigorous sound of wings flapping. I turned around and saw a crow. I hadn't seen many crows since coming to Hinamizawa. I saw them a lot in my old town, though. On garbage day, they'd flock to trash collection points, peck through the bags with their beaks, drag out the contents, and have a feast. As I was remembering that, I saw a few crows flocking around the shrine's donation box, and I thought how terrible it was for them to leave a garbage bag in a place like that. The cicadas quieted. Breathing stopped. Thoughts ceased. Even time came to a halt. I ran over to where the crows were flocking. Ran there in order to drive a horrible idea out of my mind. So, whose head are we going to find in there? I definitely had one of this. There's no way I would ever wish for this, even by mistake. This was not. When they noticed my vicious approach, the crows all flapped upwards, fleeing into the sky. When the crows' big black bodies flew away, they exposed the garbage bag. This is fine. What had I seen there? The scream had escaped my throat before I even understood what I was looking at. What was this? Satoko came over as well, realizing that something had happened. And she looked over my shoulder, then she screamed as well. This wasn't... The garbage bag was crimson, dyed in fresh blood. Enough of the stupid roundabout way of saying it. That's right. Yes. It was Rika-chan. Our friend. Satoko's best friend. Always easygoing, clever as a cat, but so cute you couldn't hate her. Our friend, Rika-chan. She was... Rika-chan was stark naked. She was face up, limbs sprawled. Her eyes were like glass, just staring up into the sky. And...
Rika!
Satoko broke down crying on the spot, and yet she still couldn't approach her friend's remains. The crows had gotten through the garbage bag, and dragged out an apple peel and spread it all over. Yeah, apparently Oyashiro-sama didn't like this story, so he offed the entire cast. That's not a bad theory at this point. No crows. They couldn't do this. Ugh. On the spot, I started vomiting. The sour taste became a bitter one as I threw up over and over again. Rika-chan, her stomach was cut wide open vertically, completely open. Crows couldn't have done this. And from her open stomach, her bowels were dragged out like children's toys left all over the floor. That's really what you're going with there, Keiichi? Okay. That unbelievable sight induced oxygen deprivation in my brain. Color left my vision, a pounding headache, dizzy, and I wanted to vomit. It was like the nightmarish remains of a ceremonial killing. Someone, somewhere had killed Rika-chan, brought her here, laid her here with her limbs sprawled out, and then cut open her stomach and dragged out her intestines. Red and pink viscera were sticking out of her gut, and her intestines were scattered in every direction like it had been for fun. The entire ground was covered in an ocean of red and black. A few of the crows had hopped around inside that ocean. They walked through the sea of blood, leaving bloody footprints, and those footprints, there were several still left on Rika-chan's body. Those sinister prints made it seem like even more like a bizarre ritual killing. I may have wished for Takano-san, Coach, and Uishi to die, but I didn't remember ever wishing for Rika-chan's death.
So-san, 俺じゃない。
I stumbled backwards, then stepped on a newspaper. A newspaper in a place like this? The newspaper was what was covering my hatchet. I'd kept it wrapped up and on my belt in order to carry Satoko, and that newspaper had fallen off. Don't scare me like that. I bent down to pick it up, and then Satoko looked at me with such disbelief I'd ever seen, and froze. She was looking straight at me, at the hatchet, on my belt.
落ち着け、サトコ。これは違うぞ。
Satoko, trembling madly, backed away.
俺じゃない。俺じゃないんだ。俺じゃ。
Yeah, we have an axe, we have a corpse, and probably absolutely no logical reasoning skills left. Yay! She didn't care at all that she was exposing herself through the towel. Thank you, Steam, for at least not putting that up. She just trembled, tried to step back from the demon in front of her.
Satoko, 落ち着いてくれ。頼むから、冷静になってくれ。
Bad end, game over. Screaming weakly, Satoko began to run unsteadily. Run away, that is.
待ってくれ、サトコ。
Are you sure it can only get worse?
違うんだ。違うんだ。
The way she ran away, it was so weak, so slow. So if I wanted to go after her, I could have caught up. But if I tried to grab Satoko's shoulder or something right now, she might actually go crazy. Unlike me, who is perfectly sane. So I had to follow her to try to clear this up. I swear, I was only wanting to talk. I have no idea how my hatchet ended up in their neck.
監督を殺して大石さんも殺したんでございましょう。おじさまを殺そうとしてリカまで人殺し。違う、
俺じゃない。俺は殺してなんかいない。
何を言ってるんですの。あなたさっき自分で言ったじゃありませんの。死ねって、死んでしまえって。それでみんな死んでしまったんでしょ。
俺はその死ねって思っただけで別に。
自分で何をしたか記憶に残っていないんでございましょう。そんな人の話なんか信用できるわけありませんわ。人を殺した時の記憶が欠落してるだけなんじゃありませんの。いや、記憶がないふりをしてるだけなんじゃありませんの。第一、そのナタは何なんですのよ。
Killing your uncle? Again?
説明してごらんなさいな。
これは
ほらほらほら、圭一さんは殺人鬼じゃありませんの。どうしてですの。ちょっと意地悪だったけど楽しくて優しい、一度は本当のニーニーかもしれないとまで思ったのに、どうしてそんな風になってしまったんですの。
I might have been able to slowly answer each of Satoko's questions at one at a time. But in this situation, explaining my innocence in such a short period of time was impossible. I mean, I didn't even know if I was really innocent anyway. At the very least, I killed Satoko's uncle. There was no body, but I killed him. Without a doubt. At this point, I was far from innocent. And I wish Takano-san, Coach, and Oishi were dead. And that curse of mine was granted. When I wished for Takano-san to die, I didn't think of it as anything more than a normal thing you'd say to someone you didn't like. But then she actually did die, and I realized if I wanted people to die, they would. And hoping it would happen again, I cursed Coach and Oishi to the same fate. So even ignoring Takano-san's death, Coach's and Oishi's were completely premeditated crimes. Was I a killer just like Satoko said? Was I unable to distinguish between illusion and reality, and turned into a demon without remembering it, becoming a killer who carried out Oshishiro-sama's curse? Nah, that couldn't be. It was impossible. Ah, damn it! The very word impossible was impossible in Hinamizawa right now. How many freaking times have I said that word these past 3 days? Satoko had started crying again, and was walking unsteadily. At first, it felt like she was still running, but now it was like she was walking away crying from someone bullying her.
どうしてこんなことになってしまったんですの。どうして。
If there was an answer to that, then I wanted to know it too. Why? Why had it turned out like this?
ニーニーがいなくなってずっと寂しかったけど、圭一さんが転校してきてくれて、またみんな明るくなって楽しくなって、毎日が光ってたのに。
Yeah, she was right. Those days were bright and beautiful. And yet, After that, Satoko and I shouted the exact same thing.
どうしてこんなことに。
The cicadas were sneering at the spectacle, our strange game of tag. Shut up, shut up, shut up! Eventually I heard the murmuring of a stream. The forest parted, and a suspension bridge appeared. Satoko was crossing dangerously, wobbling as though she might fall at any moment. And when I stepped out onto the bridge, it swayed a lot, causing Satoko to stagger and fall on the spot.
大丈夫か、サトコ。
Yeah, maybe we should leave her alone.
近寄らないで。この人殺し。
Satoko shouted, her hatred made very clear. It was sad. If words could cut, then this warmth flowing from my eyes would have been blood for sure.
どうしてこうなってしまったんですの？ケンイチさんのこと大好きだったのに。
I wanted to go up to her and give her a hand, but the distance between us was uncrossable. If I got any closer, Satoko would start shouting again, and say things that would hurt me deeply again. So I couldn't approach any closer than this.
サトコ、俺にもなんでこうなったかわからないんだ。でもこれだけは言える。リカちゃんを殺したのは俺じゃないんだ。
Yeah, it's gonna make everything better.
それだけは絶対に。
いい加減なこと言わないでほしいですわ。自分の記憶にも自信が持てない人が何を言ったってどう信じればいいって言うんですの？
I tightened my hands into fists. This was mortifying. I wasn't crazy. Hinamizawa was crazy, ever since I'd wandered into it lost on that one night. This insane world where I was at the festival when I wasn't, and the uncle I killed was alive. Where death would come just by wishing for it. It was this world's fault. Mion and Reina started acting strangely, like they were possessed by something too, and Coach wouldn't believe anything I had to say. And even Satoko, who I should have protected, was yelling at me like this. Was the price for killing a man supposed to be this high? Was I really going to be forced to stay in such a bitter world? I did the right thing! At least, I wanted to. So then, why? I hated it. Every time I asked why, the days Satoko and I enjoyed in peace went so wrong. Sound mixing is an art form that is sadly underappreciated.
サトコ、信じてくれ。俺は人殺しじゃない。
You are. You kind of are.
では、そのナタは何なんですの？納得のいく説明はできまして。
I was just taking it for a walk.
このナタが怖いのか。じゃあ捨てるよ。それなら安心だろ。
Satoko didn't nod, but she seemed to be in agreement with that proposition. I clumsily took the hatchet out of my belt, then dropped it over the side of the bridge into the stream below.
捨てたぞ。これで話を聞いてくれるな。
Well, I mean, in his mind it made perfect sense. He was still gonna have to go kill her uncle, so, you know, keep the hatchet along.
武器を捨てたぐらいで気を許すと思いまして。圭一さんほどの方なら 私を素手で絞め殺すなんて簡単でしょうに。
Like hell I would ever want to kill Satoko. You idiot.
じゃあどうしたらいい？両手を頭の上で組んだらいいか？
そうですわね。両手を頭の上で組んで後ろを向いてくださいます。
It was a cunning plan, much like the one she used during club activities. Putting my hands on my head and turning away mean I couldn't attack Satoko very easily. I immediately acquiesced to her request, since it would make her feel better.
これでいいか？俺の話を聞いてくれ。
Satoko stood up, then carefully approached me from behind, where she quickly shoved me over the bridge and killed me, thus ending this chapter. Right? And then she actually came up right behind me. She was so close, and yet I was so sad that I wasn't allowed to turn around.
圭一さんが悪くないのはなんとなくうすうす分かっていましたわ。
え？
多分あなたは何か悪いものに乗り移られただけなんです。さっきまでは圭一さんが殺人鬼なんだと思ってたけど、私あなたの目を見ていたら。
I could hear that Satoko was still crying, but her voice was gentle just the same.
圭一さんが人殺しなんかするわけがない。圭一さんの体を何か悪いものが乗っ取って悪事に駆り立てただけ。
Was she speaking literally right now? Or was she trying to admonish me? I couldn't tell.
思えばひょっとするとあの人たちも圭一さんと同じものに乗り移られていたのかもしれない。あの時は殺されるとしか思わなかったからそこまでは考えが及ばなかったけど。
Yeah, this is not exactly how this goes in anything. I have to give the writers some credit for coming up with a very unique way to potentially end this, I think.
今ならわかる。
I'm not turning the sound back up till I'm sure that saxophone bit isn't here anymore.
あれは乗り移
Nope,
った
same song.
何か悪いものの仕業だった。
サトコ？何の話だ？
It was less like she was talking to me, and more like she was talking to herself, like she was confessing at my back.
分かってるんですの。私身に覚えがないわけじゃないんですのよ。
Mommy? Satoko's voice started to become mixed with sobs. Her pained voice tore at my heart, but I didn't know what Satoko was talking about.
西宮殿の屋根によじ登ったことがありますの。
Yeah, something evil is probably your brother. The curse of Oyashira-sama. He possesses anyone who could protect Satoko. That's how this works. Yeah, he keeps picking new people because they just keep disappearing or dying.
何年も前のことですわ。
Once, when Satoko was playing hide-and-seek at the shrine grounds, she climbed into the roof of the storehouse for ritual implements, which everyone said not to go near, and hid. Then Satoko saw that she could get in through a window meant for ventilation. For Satoko, the word curse was plenty scary, but she was more curious about what was inside the unknown storehouse. Oh God, you broke the taboo. She removed the grating on the window, which was already hanging off, slid her small body into it, and climbed down inside. It was too dark to see much, but after descending, she realized just how high up she'd been. Despite the darkness, she could see a few things around her thanks to the faint light coming in from the air window. And to her disappointment, it was just a regular old storehouse. She tried to leave, but the door was locked up tight from the outside, and it was made not to open from within. She would have to go back out through the ventilation window she'd come in from. But the window was high on the wall, and there was no way she'd be able to climb back up. Satoko desperately tried not to cry, and racked her brain thinking of a way to get up there. There were a lot of birdcage-looking things hanging by chains from the ceiling. She took the hanging chains and strung them along the wall. Well, I mean, I assume that the game's creators are, aware that we realize murder is bad at this point. So they're not going along with that. Yet. If she climbed up the bundle of chains, she might be able to manage to climb up to the ventilation window. There was nothing else she could do, so she had to try. And try she did. It was dark and creepy, and she didn't want to stay there forever. The more she thought about it, the more she panicked. She climbed the bundle of chains. Satoko could hear the clinks and clangs of everything creaking under her weight. And then, just as her hand reached the window, one of the metal fixtures she used to take the chains in the wall flew off, and the chains all began to pull loudly and furiously every which way. Spurred on by sounds behind her, she managed to get back into the roof from the window. Because of the weight of the flailing bundle of chains, the other fixtures broke, and then one of the big bird cages hanging from the ceiling fell to the floor with a huge noise. Under it was an image of Oyashiro-sama, his vessel, and the cage took off one of the arms, then trapped some other implements beneath it. It didn't take very long for her to grow scared of what she'd done. The deafening noise could be heard from the rest of the shrine grounds. A few other children heard it and gathered around. And of course, Rika was one of them. Then Rika's father, the shrine priest, with an angry look, ran over. And then, as for what happened next, it was painful to remember. The only one who knew where Rika's parents kept the key to the ritual storehouse was Rika. So he scolded her, saying this happened because Rika pulled a prank and hid me in there. He was very angry and menacing. Just looking at him was enough to frighten anyone. He exposed Rika's back, took a strangely shaped ritual cane or something, and struck her with it several times. Rika's words at the time, "It wasn't me! It wasn't me!" I'm sorry, that pitiful voice, I still can't get out of my head. I should have said it was me. I should have said so to save my best friend from that false accusation, without being afraid of Rika's father's terrible temper. Rika gritted her teeth and cried at the crime she didn't remember doing. Ever since then, the world had been strange.
分かってるんですの、私には。これは、お社様のたたりだって。あの時、最後伝を怪我して、親友を見捨てた私への天罰だって。
So Keiichi killing the uncle and then committing murder and then death noting people, and that was because Satoko messed around in the storehouse and is now cursed to have everyone who she considers a friend go crazy and die horribly.
お社様のたたり。
父も母も濁流に消えた。意地悪だったおばも死んだけど、誰よりも私を可愛がってくれたニーニーも私を捨てて家出してしまった。そして圭一さんが転校してきて、やっと楽しい毎日が戻ってきたと思ったのに、
And that's what she's
圭
coming
一さ
away
んが
with
取り
here.
つかれて、リカも殺されて。聞いたの私。お社様は本当にたたりをなすときは 本人をすぐに殺さないんだって。親しい人から順に殺して、みんな殺してから最後に殺すんだって。だから圭一さんもタタリにやられて、きっと今度はレナさんやミオンさんがたたられてしまうんですわ。そして殺したり殺されたり、もういや。
So Satoko is us from the last chapter, I guess. Satoko is Keiichi from the last chapter. That's where we're going with this. When I turned around, I was thrust away with amazing force. Given my hands were awkwardly placed for my head, I couldn't take the fall and lost my balance. And I'd been pushed not into the bridge, but to the side. Towards the stream. Now, this can't be happening! Ah! As one last miracle, I was allowed to grab a cord hanging from the bridge. Far below me was the stream. We were pretty high up, and below were rocks of all sizes. He hadn't died yet! If I fell, it clearly wouldn't be pretty. The entire bridge was tilting under my body weight. My frail little grip probably wouldn't last another minute before my fingers had to let go.
Satoko! Satoko!
I didn't understand myself what I meant by shouting her name then. Was I asking her to save me? Or was I asking her why she did this? Finally, everything came back into focus, and I saw Satoko. And I was surprised at what an odd expression she had. It was the first time I'd seen it. It was an expression of righteous anger, meant only for those who needed to die. Just 1 second. Nah, it's gonna clip text, isn't it? There we go. Stop that. Stop at that. There we go. As she screamed, she jerked the bridge to and fro. She didn't have to do that. I was gonna fall anyway.
私はお前なんかには負けないんですのよ。タタリなんかに負けてたまるもんですか。お前になんか絶対に負けない。みんなおばだ。お前に絶対に負けたりなんかしない。
サトコ、これだけは聞いてくれ。
I don't know what my face looked like at the time, but it seemed like it was enough to quell Satoko's agitation.
俺のしたことは確かに褒められるものじゃない。いや、いけないことだったかもしれない。だけど お前に幸せになってほしくってしたことだったんだ。それだけは信じてくれ。
こいつ最後の最後で健一さんのふりを。
Satoko didn't seem to have any more desire to listen to what I had to say. And for that to happen at the very end like this was tragic.
お前に褒められたくてやったわけじゃなかった。お前に幸せになってさえもらえればよかった。俺たちはダメなんだ。お前が笑っていないとダメなんだ。だから俺が消えたら笑ってくれ。俺が死ぬことで新しい生活を迎えたならきっと笑ってくれ。それだけ約束してくれないか。
Just out of curiosity, we've seen these ropes on the suspension bridge, these cables. How did her pushing him actually knock him over?
ケイチさんの口調で喋るな。おじろ、落ちてしまえ。
And those were the last words Satoko ever said to me. Those sad, tragic, and altogether unrewarding words. What on earth was I? My desire to make Satoko happy ended up like this. Where did I first go wrong? And what was the mistake I made? When did I make it? Was I the crazy one, or was it Hinamizawa? Even after all this, I thought I wasn't crazy at all. It was this eerie world that was crazy. This world I'd accidentally wandered into that one night. Because that fun world, where I never doubted all the crazy times we had as a club would go on forever, it couldn't possibly have transformed into such an abnormal world. That fun world wouldn't have ever ended with this, with Satoko pushing me to my death. In the end, I was going to be swallowed up by this crazy world and disappear. Nah, I'd probably already disappeared. Yeah, probably. On the night of Watanagashi. I'm sure that in the world I really belonged to, I had vanished that night, and everyone was worried. It was laughable that I had taken this long to figure out I wasn't around anymore. Oyashiro-sama's curse on the 5th year was Satoko's uncle dying and me disappearing. In the real world, Satoko had already been freed. Maybe my friends were all lamenting my disappearance and valiantly trying to get back on their feet. And even though they were down to 4 people, the club would reopen and they would have a good time without me, waiting for the day when I would come back. I'm sorry, everyone. I couldn't come back home. But this is what I wished for. It was my wish for Satoko's smile, and my duty as her Nini. At this point, there will be nobody left to torture you. Because Satoshi and I, well, it took 2 years, but we succeeded. That annoying, toothy smile of yours, we wanted to see it one more time. There we go. I haven't seen the anime. I may have to go dig it up and see what they did to the game in the anime. My pain wasn't gentle or merciful. But if I do dig up the anime, I'm waiting till after I at least get through chapter 5 of this game. It was a sharp pain, violent, powerful, and ruthless. What little compassion I had receded in the span of a moment. And now, I could die. I could say goodbye to this insane world. Farewell, crazed Hinamizawa. Thanks for giving me the psychic power to kill people whenever I wanted. Sentences I did not think I would be saying today, Part 1. If you'll still allow it, a wish for one last thing. Yeah, I know it's going to release. The death of this very world, of this crazed Hinamizawa, so that nobody would ever again have to find themselves lost here, again. Funny how it seems we have a normal chapter break now. Gee, new tips acquired too. So let's check the new tip. Oyashiro-sama. Nobody really knows what characters to use to write Oyashiro-sama. Knowing this is hard partly because depending on the time period, he has been called with various titles with subtle changes to his name, and nobody knows the real one. The only thing all time periods agree on is the 4 syllables O, Ya, Shi, and Ro are always used. There's a theory stating the shrine, or yashiro, dedicated to Oyashiro-sama itself became an object of worship, and the people be calling it O Yashiro-sama, or Lord Honorable Shrine, but this doesn't make a bit of sense. I don't know whether this is related, but people say that the Furude family, the most respected bloodline in terms of worshipping Oyashiro-sama, actually inherited his blood. And in the legend, the Furude family passes down. If for 8 generations in a row the firstborn child is a girl, the 8th daughter will be the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama. If we go by this legend, the characters used for Oyashiro-sama's name should be O for honorable, Ya for 8, and Shiro for generation. These character assignments are simply something I've thought up. There is no way to verify it. If this is true, then Oyashiro-sama would have been named as such under the assumption he would come again. The second coming of an object of worship can be seen in several religions, so this isn't unusual. But a few of these religions call the second coming of their object of worship a day of judgment, or something along those lines, and we must not forget they mean it to be the end of the world. Rika Furude, pampered and loved dearly by the elderly folk in the village. The rumors say she is the 8th generation, and Oyashiro-sama. I do not know the family tree of the Furudes, but at the very least I can confirm for the past 2 generations the first child has been a girl. Rika Furude watches over Hinamizawa, plotting. If the village were to lose her protection, what would happen? Would peace between man and demon be lost? Would it once again create a hellish landscape where man-eating demons run rampant? A gruesome feast of the demons who suddenly remembered how delicious the weak humans were, who could only cry, scream, and run for their lives? What would that look like? Just imagining it is enough to make my heart pound with excitement. Sounds like Takeno's diary. Oh, that was the last tip of this chapter. Save it.